Welcome everybody, I'm Santiago Kneeland and this is The Divine Within, the invisible connection with God. In today's episode, we're going to talk to a person that has been teaching us about the revelation through his stories, through all this history that's within it, all the magic that you can find. So I'm really pleased to see and welcome a brother, friend, Rick Warren, who is a veteran, a retired repairman, a longtime student of the Urantia Book, and the author of a remarkable series of novels that bring the fifth epical revelation to life through story. Rather than writing theology, Rick writes people, from Adam and Eve to Midwayers, from Melchizedek to Mansion Worlds. His novels invite readers to experience the revelation through the lives of unforgettable characters. Together we'll explore how storytelling can take faith into new realms, it can awaken it, it can reveal cosmic purpose, and it can help us see our own lives as part of a much greater adventure. So welcome to this podcast, Rick. It's a pleasure having you here.
Thanks, Santiago. Glad to be here.
Awesome. So we're going to dive into our first part into how you became interested and how you started writing all these stories. So from an ordinary life to cosmic purpose, every extraordinary journey begins with an ordinary person. Rick Warren wasn't trained as a theologian or a philosopher. He was a repairman, a veteran, and a husband whose encounter with the Urantia Book transformed the way he understood life. In this first segment, we'll explore how revelation can awaken creativity, purpose, and a calling at any stage of life. So tell us, Rick, how was your story? I mean, it's always interesting to hear the different ways that readers found the book, or like we would like to say, the book found you. So tell us a little bit about this story and how that changed your life.
Well, I was living out on the West Coast in a little church community in the hills. There were about 100 of us, and a woman came to visit this community and we fell in love. And she was quite the activist and interested in everything that was going on at that time. And there was this community not far from where I was living called the Blue Algae Community. And that was the blue algae was a thing back in the 80s when I found the book. And she says, I want to go visit them. Let's go down there. And so we went to this little town in the down by San Francisco, and rented an apartment. We subletted an apartment. And the guy was leaving for 2 weeks, and he was just going to let us live there until we found our own place. And so all his furniture and all his books were there. And on his shelf was this big blue book.
Okay.
And I pulled it down, and I opened it to the index, and I just right there, Santiago, I had a religious experience. I said, this is what I've been looking for. And I was thumbing through the pages, and I just knew that I had found something really special. And from that day on, I've read the Urantia Book and done something with it just about every day for the last 40 years. That was in 1986, so 40 years last month.
Well, that's the whole lifetime. So, I mean, you're telling us that you were living in a church community. So can you describe us? I mean, obviously it was a religious community. So can you tell us a little bit more of what were your community like and how that differed from what you found in the Urantia Book? Or did you find, can you tell us that experience?
Yeah, this was Harbin Hot Springs. It was actually a hot springs hotel where people could come up and visit, but they also had a community there of a lot of ex-hippies and a lot of wandering souls like me. And it was really an international community with
So
lots.
it wasn't religious. It was more of a hippie social community,
Well, it was founded and it was called the Church of Heart Consciousness.
Okay.
There was a guy from back east who came out and bought the hot springs. It was in terrible condition, and he built it up using us to help him, and it's quite successful, and it's still a going enterprise. And I really loved it there. That was probably heaven on earth to me, living in that little community with a constant flow of international guests and people from all sorts of walks of life.
That's interesting. So I understand. So it was in this community that you found this person and that took you, and you found eventually found the Urantia book. So when you started reading it, and you started studying it, what was that really appealed to you, or what caught your eye? I mean, apart from in that first reaction that you had.
Well, I right away after I got the book, a friend bought me a copy for my birthday, and I said, "Well, I'm going to read this over the next year." I made myself a promise, so that meant I was going to have to read, you
A lot.
know, oh yeah,
It took me
yeah,
4 years the first pass, to really sit
really,
down and dig it. I mean, understand everything. I mean, it was sometimes that had long pauses to really reflect and then continue. But yeah, I mean, I know what you mean. So yeah, tell us.
yeah, I didn't understand it all, but I pushed on through in 1 year, and then I read it
Okay.
again, and then I read it again, and each time I read, well, I picked up a little bit more.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I guess the most outstanding feature of the book that it was so, what's the word? It wasn't pushy or
Yeah.
trying to make me believe like, maybe a modern religion would, or join anything. It was just plain facts about the entire universe.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it just every page just blew me away. I never doubted it for 1 minute. Um,
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's one of the things that also caught me. It's the logic behind it. I mean, it's really very very high concepts, and like you said, sometimes you really can't understand at the first pass, and then it starts to make sense as the years pass. But trying to understand things, and that was what did it to me. Many of the things that weren't really answered by previous religions, that maybe they had these holes, these loops, and suddenly I get some answers, very clear answers, and that's what really got to me. How logical the explanations to many of the questions that I had, and of course many others that were brought up. But that was really I can relate. So thanks for sharing that experience. And how did it get you? I mean, we're gonna go dive in deeper into that. So in the end, how did that form you? I mean, and you're telling us the story. You found the book. How long did you stay in that community work? Because you have an interesting life. You're a veteran. You were a repairman. So can you tell us more about that part of you?
well, after I read part four and the story of Jesus, and I saw how important family was to him,
Mm-hmm.
and my family wasn't in that greatest shape. I had sort of abandoned them and went out to the West Coast. I really, my father was an agnostic, and my mother was a Christian woman, but I was just a confused soul. So
Okay.
um, after I found the book, I said I contacted the foundation and started
Okay.
making contact with other people. And after I came back to Texas, where I am now, and I have been for the last 30 years, um, I wanted to start a study group. I realized that the most important thing I could do was look at this book with the help of other people, because some of the concepts are so far out there. They just beg to have you study with other people. That's why
Yeah.
there's so
Yeah.
many study groups around today.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I so
Totally.
I so I had a study group. Back then we didn't have the internet, so we came to my home, and 2 weeks, every 2 weeks for 2 hours, these people would come over. There were 8 or 10 of us, and sometimes there were even 20 of us. But
Okay.
but we went through the whole book in 7 years, and
In
and
7 years. Okay.
mm,
And the entire book, I mean, you went I mean, and some topics are really complicated, but good for you. I'm
Yeah,
glad. So
yeah.
we're going to close this introductory segment, and we're going to follow with some of your work. So stick around. On the Divine Within podcast, we share real conversations to help you find a personal connection with God. My goal is to support your faith, growth, and journey toward discovering the divine within yourself. Join us to deepen your faith and spiritual journey.